to sleep. Actually, quick little water break. But I feel like how you show up in relationships is so pivotal. Because we like to talk about, I guess, as a society, like how others show up in your relationships. Like, so and so isn't treating me right, da 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 da, which are all valid. I feel like your feelings and thoughts are valid about how other people show up in your relationships, but we have to take a little bit of accountability about how we show up in relationships, and sometimes it's not always the healthiest, right? I was kind of having a conversation, and I'm not going to go deep into that conversation, but more deep into my thoughts that kind of prompted me to think about it. And I feel like we live in a very self-centered, like individualized culture, so like there's no like person to blame, but it is very easy to look at external values, but not so easy to look at internal values and what's going on. Is that my neighbor's Alexa? I'm not gonna cut that out. You guys are just gonna get some Alexa, I guess. Yeah, it's a little bit different because I'm in my living room, which will be their living room, and so I don't even know, like my Alexa doesn't even go on this long. What is she talking about? So what was I talking about? See, like I said, tangents. You're gonna get a lot of tangents during these podcasts. But yeah, like it's so easy to look at what other people are doing wrong, but I think the concept of, I guess, like I used to hear do unto others how you would have them do unto you or something, like showing up in relationships how you expect others to show up for you is a really, like, it's a simple concept when you say it, but it's a difficult concept in practice. Like, I can easily say, yeah, I'm going to be there and available for my friends and my family and my partner, and we're going to do, we're going to show up equally, but that's not always the case, right? Because everyone's going through different things in their life, and so, there are those times where, you have a little bit less going on and you are more easily able to show up for the people in your life and it not be such a burden. But I feel like we've all been there to where like we feel like our life is drowning, and you look over and you see someone you love drowning too, but you're struggling to save yourself, and it's not really viable to try to save them too. Like, you will both end up drowning because scarier than